Before we begin the PowerPoint, we strive for flexibility. And we had 3 different ways of introducing ourselves, because it's really important that you know who we are. Okay. And what I'm going to ask you in just a few minutes is, I'm going to briefly introduce and tell you why and how we became the Brooklyn Five, and then you'll see some additional information. As we speak, we're going to be showing a PowerPoint that just goes through how we've evolved over time and how we've stayed together. So out of 271, the pride that came from attending also brought, and I say 5, and y'all saying, there's only 4. Did they miss Charlie Isaac's math class? And the reason I say that is because the 5th one is going to be on the screen. We are currently working on a book together called The Brooklyn Five Storytellers, and we are also working on a documentary. And so we have video clips, and we've edited a video clip and embedded it so that she can participate. And that's who you'll be hearing from in just a few minutes. So we weren't like the Danbury Five, right? We didn't commit any crimes, and therefore we were in jail together at Attica, even though many of us did go to those demonstrations and, you know, participated in not just that fight that started at 271, but continued. So when we started telling our stories, we realized we were always coming together. This is our 50th year anniversary knowing each other, all 5 of us. And so that's what prompted us to write the book. And we managed to stay together. And wherever we go together, people, it's like we're walking on this cloud, because we have all this energy and love. And that love started at 271. So even though we're going to talk about the struggles, even though we just saw how bad it was, as researchers have identified, it's the relationships that you forge along the way that help bring into womanhood and help heal those wounds, those that started in the communities, those that started in the homes, and those that resulted from the educational system. All right, so my name is Sonia Cotto Marino, and I am a dietitian. I actually live in Texas. After me, you will be hearing from Sophia De Silva. She is a jewelry maker, caterer, inventor. We have so many titles. You'll see a current theme. She's an artist. She lives in California, and you'll be hearing from her in just a few minutes. She'll be followed by Cleesta Cotton, and oh my God, wait till you see her artwork. We have some artwork so you can see. Not to mention, she's also a writer and a poet and an inventor. Also amazing. Then you're hearing from Veronica G., another incredible artist, spiritual person, just one of the rocks of our relationship. And then we'll be ending with Monifa Edwards, who we call her the glue. She's the glue. She's the glue because she's the one who kept us all together at these 50 years. And it started with her. And so, sorry. I promised I would wear my sunglasses so you wouldn't see me crying, but it's okay. All right, so let's get started here. Okay, so we call each other the Brooklyn Five. You see this is a map of 271, and we started coming together to discuss all of these issues and all the fear that we had during our trying to get to school after the first year. We have a picture of Charlie Isaacs there, but it was very tumultuous walking up to school and seeing all this violence and seeing people so angry. And you'll hear a little bit more about that as we go along. And I was one of those that lived the farthest away from the school. And That's my picture down there on the screen. And I had a 12-block walk. And I was I was the only girl out of 6 brothers, and it was a very sheltered life. So the truth is, when I read Charlie's book, I'll tell you honestly, I was kept from school. They didn't want me to go because after the first time the riots occurred, my brother was hit in the back with a 2x4 because we were Puerto Rican. And even though I'm considered one of the darkest ones in my family, he was lighter than me. He was the one who got some violence. And so they wouldn't let me back. And I missed out on a lot of school. But one of the things that I did get when I went from Charlie and from Brother McFadden and Brother Clark was this sense of identity. It wasn't until after I did my 23andMe that I realized how much African blood I do have in me. But there was something, some pride. It didn't matter what color you were, they instilled pride in you. And that was the beauty of the message, right? It was giving you pride in who you are. Figure out who you are and be proud of it. Don't let what you see in front of you, and don't let the curriculum, and don't let these things that try to define you be the ones that stop you from achieving your goals, right? That was the overarching theme, right? So I realized I was a bit of a nerd. I was actually reading the 12th grade level when I was in 6th grade. Because I wasn't let outside much, I spent most of my time reading. As a result, that's one of the things that brought us together. We were all nerdy, well-spoken, Black and Puerto Rican women, and other people were uncomfortable around us sometimes, but we found each other, and that was what brought us and kept us together all this time. And I'm very proud of this relationship, and I went on and got a master's in public health. I then found out I was just telling Charlie, I actually found out after I read Charlie's book that my mother was one of the first Puerto Ricans who was on, she says it's the Board of Education. She's 86 years old now, but she was the community organizer, and I didn't even know it. I didn't know about any of that until I went to high school, and she actually, and that's a picture of her there, until I read Charlie's book, and I said, Mom, what did you know? She said, oh, I was on the board. Oh, what? You know, she was just that giving person, and that gave me the strength to continue fighting. And I was, she was the one that drove Monife and I to the New Jersey Turnpike, and we stopped traffic on the Jersey Turnpike during the Vietnam War demonstrations. So she was actually the one militarizing me, which was kind of strange, instead of it being the other way around. But she made me a very caring, loving person, and I've worked with migrant Head Start programs in 7 states across the country, and I know how much education doesn't meet our needs. And you'll hear a little bit more about the impact that's had on all of us. And so you see, we've been together many, many years, and we've done many things trying to keep our story alive. And I think now we're willing to commit it to paper. And we're going to begin with Sophia. Sophia Muslima, at the time, or Beatrice da Silva, we've had many AKAs along the way. She currently lives in California, and as I mentioned, she's a jeweler, she's a caterer, she's started kinds of businesses, developed juice businesses, and woman is just amazing. She lived like a block away from 271. So this was in her face, right, what was going on. So she has this little video that she will explain what her perspective
We became really good friends, and we started hanging out.
Oops, hold on, I don't think it started from, sorry about that. I don't think it started from the beginning. Bear with me. We were testing it out, and
we became really good friends and we started hanging out and doing everything together, you know, and then as time went by, we started realizing that things were happening in the school, you know, things were changing. The teachers, there was so much controversy and there was a lot of tensions rising in the school. And we couldn't figure out, okay, what's going on here? Why are these teachers mad? Why does it look like they're always having these little meetings on the side, or one teacher would come into another teacher's classroom while he was teaching and they would like whisper and talk about a meeting that they had, and we were like, okay, something was going on. We didn't know what it was, but something was going on. And we could feel the tensions rising. And little by little, you could also feel that whole blackness, the black awareness of the school. You could feel the teachers like sticking their chests out more and more like, hey, you know what, I'm important, I count, you know, and flexing their muscles into their world of blackness, into this whole, you know, like, you know what, it's time to take a stand. It's time to do something. And as that tension and that attitude and the controversy rose more and more and more, we began little by little to find out what was going on in the school. And we decided to become a part of it. So time had progressed. Tootie ran for school president. I ran for vice president. She won. I did not win. I actually took over that part. And so because we were president and vice president of the school, we were very much involved in everything that, you know, decisions that needed to be made. And we found out probably quicker than a lot of other people what was going on in the school. And so we found out that there was all this stuff going on with the teachers, the UFT, you know, and we decided that we wanted to start making picket signs and helping the teachers to fight for their rights, and helping the community to be more involved in making their own decisions where the schools were concerned and the communities were concerned. And little by little, somehow, that started taking us into a consciousness of blackness, you know, of taking control over our environment, over our communities, over our schools, over learning, you know, what are they teaching us? Are we learning stuff that we don't want to learn, that we shouldn't learn because it's so biased based on their history, on their story, what they wanted us to believe? I'm a blessed woman. I got so many riches in my life, and all of them are here in this room with me right now, you know, and we survived 271, which was amazing. And I'll tell you something, 271 for me, and I know for them, was a springboard that sprung us into inquisitiveness, into knowing that we had the right to ask questions, knowing that we had the right to make demands for what we wanted in our lives. It brought us a level of pride. And I think that's the best way I could actually describe this. 271 was pride. It was pride, and it was awareness, and it was black consciousness, and it was knowing that we were dynamic.
greetings, everyone. Thank you for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity to share just a snippet of what we experienced and went through during the time we were in Junior High School 271. I am Cleesta Cotton. Sophia and some of my friends call me Tootie. It was 1968 and I was 12 years old. My mother suddenly died from a brain aneurysm, and life as I knew it no longer existed. Home was across the street from my school, the epicenter of the fight for community control. For me, ground zero, there was no escaping it.
To get to the corner store each day, I crawled under police barricades, and I pushed through crowds to get into school. My community was a war zone. There was a sea of police standing with guns and sticks, riding horses, walking angry dogs, snipers laying on rooftops with downward-pointed guns. Plainclothesmen were everywhere, and reporters swarmed the scene. Inside 271, armed police crowded the halls and stood in the rear of our classrooms. They were here to protect the white teachers and control the black ones. American history reveals that schools were not created to educate black children, and America's anti-literacy laws made reading a punishable crime. My teachers in Ocean Hill-Brownsville worked diligently to reverse the humiliating and abusive effects of malicious instructional design. Malicious instructional design infects children of color with inferiority complexes and infects white children with superiority complexes. It promotes unrealistic views of humanity. It is directly related to destroying the self-esteem in black children. Do you know what it's like to live in fear and not know if you will live to see the next day? We did. Have you ever had a teacher let you know they do not value you, care about you, or your education? We did. Do you know how it feels to be taught that you are less than because of the color of your skin and economic standing? Have you been constantly humiliated by the content of your textbooks, so much so that you would rather be reported and sent to the dean than to face the next embarrassing paragraph or picture in your books? In Ocean Hill-Brownsville, our teachers and mentors, whose toil and terrors were superseded by their commitment to serve and protect the children, put their lives on the line to save ours. They provided us truthful, relevant knowledge, mended the wounds caused by American educational institutions, and fought to protect us from further harm. They taught academic, cultural, and historic content that connected us to our people, motherland, and let us know that there were things that were bigger than us as individuals. Our teachers introduced academic and creative scholars that looked like us and modeled positive self-esteem. Their teaching methods empowered us, enriched our lives, placed us on a trajectory for success that enables us to do the same for children globally. Black power, being black and proud, it's not racist. It's a birthright. It's a birthright that assists us in reclaiming our human rights. To teach children about the global contributions, inventions, and innovations of black people across the diaspora. I invite you the opportunity to take a deep breath in slowly. Breathe it out, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Thank you.
I want to give thanks to all of you, all of our ancestors who obviously brought us all here together. I'm going to tell a story about my experience with the educational system, period. Okay. My name's Veronica Marie G. I was born in Harlem. When it came time for me to go to school, my mom knew she had a relatively intelligent little girl, you know, who was well beyond her years and her thinking. So my mom wanted to put me in Catholic school because she felt like that was the best way to do it. You know, that I would get a better education than in a public school. Well, we went to the school to be signed up, and they told her that I had to wait until I was 6 years old to be signed into the school. I'm born in March. So by the time I was ready to go into school, I was already 6 months out of my 6th year. I finished the first grade, left back. My brother, who is half Chinese, and my mother is Italian-Irish, I didn't mention that part, but he's bringing me into school. And the nun, there are a couple of a little boy and girl who also got left back. But my brother noticed that the nun was allowing those two to go to their upper grade, to back up to the 2nd grade. And when it came time for me to be seated, she just told me to have a seat. And my brother asked her, well, why aren't you allowing Veronica to go to a proper grade? And she said that my attendance was not great because I had had every sickness a child could get within that school year. I had the mumps, measles, the chicken pox, I got it all. Flus, you name it. Strep throat, I was there. Ear infection, I got them all. But after that, I was never sick again. Okay, so I'm not. Anywho, the nun told them that somebody had to represent, someone had to set the example for all of the other students. Okay, so I spent the rest of my school, my first grade class, being called first grade baby, wipe your face in gravy, throughout the whole year. And in the event, got graduated to the 2nd grade, and then we moved to Brooklyn. First, we were in East New York, and I went to PS 63. And when we went into the office to sign up for school, they promoted me to the 3rd grade. After that, I wasn't feeling school because I got bullied a lot. I was either too light for my black friends, not light enough for the Spanish people or the white people around or whatever. I was always a problem. So it made me go within. I was very withdrawn, and I didn't care. I didn't go to school, and my mother didn't force me to go to school. It was no, you got to go to school and get an education. She would just tell you, I already got my diploma. It's on you. When we moved to Saratoga Avenue, I met my girls on the block, but I was still going to 292, which was in East New York. At that time, the whole commotion was going on right across the street from me. So every day I would get up to go across town to school, but then I met my girls, and now I want to go to 271 the following year for the 8th grade class. And in that 9 months of being in 271, it gave me a sense of pride. I no longer felt ashamed to be a half-breed, which is what they used to call me every day. You know, my girls, they never gave me no problem. You know, when I first used to meet kids, they used to pick on me because your hair was this way, or the worst thing was that my mother was a white hoe, or white trash, or a nigger lover, which, you know, my mom owned all of it. She was like, hell fucking yeah, that's who I am. She called it whatever it was. She was always very real. I remember one day when I was first called a half-breed, I went upstairs and asked my mom what was a half-breed. And she says, there's no such thing as a half-breed. You can't be half-breed. So I was like, but they keep calling me half-breed. She says, your father is colored and Indian. I am Irish and Italian. So you have all of the races in you. You understand? You are one of the most special people. This is the nicest thing my mother ever said to me, okay, about anything, okay? She wasn't the one to be swooshing up your butt, you know, pumping you up to whatever. But she made me feel special because I had everybody's blood in me. She says, you're better than me, you're better than them. They're always going to be jealous of you because you're always going to have pretty skin, nice hair. You're going to be smart, you're going to be beautiful. They're not going to like you. Not to mention, I'm extremely talented. And that's what 271 did for me. It made me be able to say, yes, I'm good. I'm good at everything I do. My brother, my oldest brother, always says, it don't matter who you are, what you are, just be the best. Okay? So I believe in people power. I believe that nothing can be changed without every last one of us. There cannot be separation. If we're not all included in this, it's not going down. Okay? We are not learning. I'm going to tell you, I am the least educated of everyone in this room because I'm a dropout. Never went back to school. Don't care. And God bless you for all of the money you spent and all of the time and energy you went through to acquire those degrees and all of that stuff. But we need to start teaching people how to live in the world. I think we spend too much time in schools and buildings reading books. Live life. Education is working and living in life, doing. So, where did I leave off at? Okay. So I finally got into 271, and my art teacher, who showed me more love than anyone in the world, gave me a scholarship at the Brooklyn Museum for printing, which I totally thinged. But I mean, I went a few of the weeks, but then, you know, I get overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. I like quiet, I like private. But I never wanted to go to school because I read Dick and Jane for 5-6 years. Tom, Dick, and Jane. I'd go home and say, Ma, I'm not going to school because, so if I went to school 1 week out of the month, it was a lot. But when I went to 271, I went to school every day, even though I wasn't in their class. Because I knew I was going to see my girls in the hallway. You know, school was social for me, I ain't going to lie. I didn't care about anything that was going on. My art classes I liked. But all of them other classes, mind you, I passed. I wasn't like skipping because I wasn't, you know, getting past anything. I just didn't like it. People don't treat you right. So if you're an educator, I taught at a private school, which really blows my mind because, like I said, I don't have papers. But Sister Aura from Cush campus, I don't know, it was a private school in Brooklyn, whom gave me that opportunity to touch a lot of children. And I taught arts and crafts. And all of my projects was completed in 8 weeks.
Hi, my name is Monifa Edwards, and I just want to add a little note to the overcrowding. For the first 3 years, first through third grade, I only went to school for half a day, and it was legal. I thought everyone else had done that until I got to 271, so I was even more shortchanged. And I'm going to shortchange you if I don't put on my glasses. So, decades after the fact, I wrote a poem entitled Naive Child about the trauma I experienced being bused to Gravesend, Brooklyn, at age 11. An angry mob swarmed and shook my school bus. I thought we were going to be killed. It never made the news. It was a relatively non-existent dose of hatred compared to that experienced by Linda Brown, the children of Little Rock, and Medgar Evers. Coming from a family possessing a rainbow of skin tones, that the color of our skin was the main cause of that bus being shaken by that mob did not occur to me. My parents offered no explanation. Taking the train alone was then considered the safer mode of transportation for me. Having some pervert expose himself to me happened at least once a month riding the F train out to Gravesend. I dutifully ended the school year, but announced on the last day of school that I would not be leaving my community for schooling ever again. After a summer on lockdown, my parents relented, and the Thursday before Labor Day, my father enrolled me in the neighborhood junior high school 271. I had won. In addition to meeting the 4 girls who over the years became my family, I experienced and witnessed the most transformative educational experience of my life at IS 271. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that a majority of students deemed troublesome or non-achievers can indeed execute a permanent about-face within a 10-week period. How do non-achievers get turned around in 10 weeks? By receiving an education devoid of malicious educational design, delivered by educators, activists, community leaders, and volunteers whose genuine love is palpable to their students. 271 became an oasis that allowed us to be children rather than walking labels of disadvantage and targeted prejudice. What we learned, and uninhibited learning itself, yielded self-esteem and pride. Children instinctually know to their core who loves them, hates them, or is ambivalent to them. They are going to react accordingly. Dr. Charles Isaacs got our respect and quickly increased our mathematic abilities because he radiated respect and love for us. Fred Nauman got the jungle bunnies he expected. It is truly very simple. Advanced degrees do not necessarily make you truly worthy of being a teacher. Like my grandmother used to say, be careful not to become an educated fool. It's your heart that makes you worthy. Are you researching how to evaluate that? The Ocean Hill-Brownsville experiment truly worked. It worked so well that New York's power structure found it necessary to dismiss, deflect, and hide the fact that something extraordinary in education had occurred. America misunderstood and still misunderstands that learning to love oneself and self-pride enables love and gratitude for all, not hate. I dare suggest that some in this August gathering may have lost sight of the true purpose of education. The origin of the word pedagogy denotes teaching one how to learn, not what to learn. Perhaps your honorable intentions are clouded by statistics, the factoids of your degrees, and your own unrecognized miseducation. Perhaps your connection to the humanity of Black, brown, LGBTQ, and poor students has been damaged, having drunk just a little too much of your own rhetorical Kool-Aid. When will the incorporation of the researched fact that race is a social construct be worked into our educational system? If those of you in this room are not going to do that, if you're not going to start it happening, who will? Look into your hearts. I am so very black and so very proud, but I'm here to say it loud that I am beyond ready to further be elevated to live a universally shared reality of being human. I'm ready to live Martin's dream. You in this room have the power to make that finally happen here in this country through our educational system. Will you? Again, look into your hearts. The valedictorian. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.